little later, the topic is very, very relevant. While we discuss the challenges of the private schools, I must tell you that there are some beauty of the private school as well. The liberty of the private promoters to do whatever they like for the benefit of the school. There are no restrictions like government schools. 2-3 comments which are very important, of which I must repeat, which the previous speaker spoke about and which are relevant to be quoted. Madam B. Singh spoke about what you can see, you can be. Very true. Very nice lines. Arun Prakash said that it's the principal who makes the school, but at the same time, it is he only who sometimes breaks the school. I believe the founder of the school is the mind of the school, while the principal is the hands of the school. It is the combination of mind and the hand which will make a good school. Now, coming to the various challenges of the school, let me tell you, the first challenge is the perception about the private school itself is a big challenge. The perception about private promoters in India is not very positive. And it has been because of some of the players who had entered into this sector, who in fact should not have come, because as we know that the fourth pillar of the society, the fourth pillar we call media, is allowed to run in the private sector in the form of any corporate or ownership or partnership firm whatsoever. Even the health sector is allowed to be so. But for some of the other reason, government has not permitted, though they become liberal, educations were allowed in the private sector, but a lot of restriction. The first being, it was not allowed by the owners. It has to be a society and trust. So this is a very big challenge. Some of the people who were in business thought that education is a great business and they entered into this sector. And in the form of making money, they did everything which should not and did not have been done. And because of these few people, the sector is called a business, a good business. And the perception of the people is somewhat wrong. So the biggest challenge is about the perception, and the time has come when this has to be clear. The second challenge, as I just discussed, is this partly liberalization of the education system. It was allowed to be run by the society or the trust only, not by the owners. Tell me, what are the incentives for the private promoters to start a school? He gives mortgage to all his private assets. He gives the personal guarantee, but he is never the owner of the school. And with the government coming up with various new provisions in the form of NEP or whatever we call it, their role and their rights and their powers are being curtailed. So what remains as the incentive of the founders, the promoters, is a big issue. I believe while government is opening up the foreign universities to come up in the country, how there will be a level playing field, they will not come as a society of the trust. And to make this level playing field, there has to be a grassroots, there is a basic change in the education sector in our country. We all know that. We must have read the book, one of the books. I've read that, and I'm sure that most of you in the field of education must have read, where he has exposed the school management as to what is happening. It's an open secret. So the government has to come with a plan where why this hide and seek policy as to the profit and suppression, etc., is to continue for years together. If really the education sector is to progress leaps and bounds, it has to be liberalized further with and the private promoters would allow it to have it in corporates and firms and ownership. There is no level playing field as far as the private schools are concerned with the government schools or even for any government organization. If something goes wrong in a government department, say one accident takes place in the railway minister is not required to resign or he is not punished. But we have all seen Rail International Pratim Thakur's case. How much economy, how much harassment to the owner of the school? It is an accident after all, we know. In day-to-day running of the school, the owner or the founder of the school is always apprehended of any such incidents. There is no such provisions or safeguard for the promoters, which is considered as an act of calamity or an accident. I mean to say they are always afraid of such situation, so there should be some level playing field. Fees is a great issue for the promoters. And now, since most of the states or many of the states have come up with the fees fixation laws and fees regulation or fees control, various by nomenclature, the various states have come up. The state of Assam has also come up with the law of fees regulation recently. This is going to be a big challenge. I can't understand why the private schools, there is no restriction or hospital for charging the medical services fees for any other thing. I mean to say for a media house also. Why these kind of restriction in the competitive market? While new school comes up, the players, the people will always choose a school which they can afford to. Where is the question of having fixation of a school fees which is a new school? Where is the question of fixation of a school fees at an entry level? At the base or at best, there could be a fees regulation where whenever any school goes for the revision of fees, increment of a fees beyond a limit, maybe much higher than the general inflation, that could be a question of issue and that could be regulated by the government. But fixation of the fees is a big challenge for we promoters, and we need to really think about once the government interfere into regulation and fixation of the fees, the quality of private education is going to be hampered. And we know the status of the government schools in our country. And there is a philosophy that the government school, private school, they are hammering from various angles. The RTE came, there are fees regulation, there are fees concession during pandemic. Under NEP, there are language issues which are of course welcoming provisions, but they cannot be, I mean to say, forcefully levied on a single day. Syllabus has to be, changed, and teacher of that local languages has to come up. But what we foresee is not a very bright future for the private schools in near future, and the government need to really think about because you see, the government school cannot be improved in a single day. This is a gradual process. While you will not improve the government schools and you will make the private school to go to the dog, the education sector of our country is going to hamper badly. And once education is gone, you can imagine the future of our students, our young people. About the challenges, the finance has always been a big problem for any promoter, as we know. And in finance, there is another big problem that when we go for the bank loan, the private property of the promoters are, of course, mortgages and personal guarantees are given. There is a long gestation period in any good school. A man who runs the school with a vision and a mission and who looks for the better quality of education and will not look for the profit, rather try to make school a best one. The way we are doing, I very proudly can say, and running huge losses. No, banks are not concerned about your quality, about how many students stopped in your board examinations and how many were selected in IITs and IIMs and all that. They are concerned with the profitability. In such kind of good schools, which is laying a strong foundation for a great future, the balance sheet will not be reflecting a good profit. That will tend amount for the banker to do a low rating. That will lead to a higher rate of interest is a big challenge for the schools. Acquisition of land before start of the school is one of the biggest problems. Private schools are basically concentrated on towns and cities, not in the agricultural or rural areas. The lands in the cities, towns are very costly. If they set up the schools a little far away, outskirts, traveling time is too much. So there is a challenge of balancing these two factors, the cost factor, very high cost factor for the land, and going too far and making them for traveling too long a period is a big issue. And then land itself is, because the time is short and we have to discuss on various issues. Land itself is a big problem for the founders, for the promoters, because a lot of government regulations and conversions and taking permission for sale and construction of infrastructure are huge issues. Dr. Prakash rightly said that it is the principal who makes the school, and I am of the similar opinion. In India, I have taken the interviews for DPS, for my school, and for other schools also where I am the members in their management committee. I don't see that the number of principals are as much as the number of schools. And when I talk about the principal, it is not that somebody is just made the principal of school. The very virtue, the very qualities of a principal, while he need to be a role model, he need to be a great academician, he need to be a great administrator as well. We hardly find these qualities, as I have seen in Varun Prakash, just in front of you, my vice chancellor, Dr. S.P. Singh, a very dynamic personality. I mean to say, with strong academic background, he's such a great administrator. I tell you, and believe me that though my family is totally devoted in education, myself, my partner, my son, my daughter-in-law, my daughter, they are all totally devoted. However, the school and the university, they are run professionally. Dr. S.P. Singh will not tell me for day-to-day thing, anything. There were problems, he resolved the problem, and thereafter, sometime later, he may tell me what happened and how the matters were resolved. He only does everything right from the syllabus to the result to the teaching, everything. So that kind of dynamic persons in our country are very less. So the promoters with huge money come up with huge infrastructure, big campuses, but no quality principal. And that just gets the school, can't make the school. While principal is the biggest problem for the school when we talk about the schools, not the higher education, the quality teacher, the teacher with the passion, teacher with the loyalty, teacher with the choice are less. So once there is a problem of human resource, we can imagine the quality of education. There are huge government regulations restricting the growth of the private schools. Just I will like to tell you that government regulation is one of the big hurdles for private promoters and private school to grow the way it could have grown. Secondly, while there is a restriction of no ownership, no partnership, no company, it has to be a society or trust, see that there is no incentive, concession, or any kind of extra facilities allowed or granted to these schools running any of the societies. They must run not for profit. The profit has to plow back. But there is no incentive. Except that there is a provision in Income Tax Act that they will not have to pay taxes, provided they will have to fulfill so many conditions, which are also stringent. And every year the फाउंडर्स के माथे में गले पे सर पे ये तलवार लटकी हुई रहती है कि वो इनकम टैक्स ऑफिसर जो है आपका 12 कैंसिल कर. So this kind of situation is not good. And I tell you, since I was a practicing chartered accountant, there are certain provisions which over the years have been included or amended, and new provisions were made in Income Tax Act are not pro-private schools. They are anti-private school, including there were few reasons for which 12-way registration could be cancelled. There was recently around 2 years ago, there was a provision that if any society or trust which is registered in section 12A, violates any of the provisions of any of the laws which are applicable to that school, if that is material for the purpose of achieving its object, the 12A registration can be cancelled. How serious, how dangerous you see. And secondly, this is section 12A. There is another important section 115T for Tamil Nadu and D for Delhi, 115TD, where also, if for some reason any school, society, or trust is for some reason is registration is cancelled and it takes the form of AOP, or if government regulations comes that these are allowed to be converted into some kind of proprietorship, in that case, the highest marginal rate of taxation will be levied on the market value of the total asset of that institution minus the liabilities. We cannot foresee a very good future as far as business model of the school is. While I talk about the business model, it doesn't mean that we make profit and we take it home. I mean to say we have to run in a business model where there could be good surplus, and the surplus could be used for the betterment of the students and for the development of the school or the colleges, as the case may be. My points are of course not in a seriatim of the way things should go. Whatever points came to my mind, I jotted down, so it could not be in a particular fashion or design or in a system. Marginal parent is a big problem for in school. There are certain parents which forms maybe 1 or 2 or 3% of the total. Maybe in a school of 1,000 parents, there could be say 30 parents who were marginal. Somehow they could manage to get admission in a particular DPS or particular school. Their capability, financial capability, were just marginal. These are, in most of the cases, they're not, are the problematic parents. They will always try to create a lot of problem for the quality of education, for the fees, for the bus, for this and for that, because they are the people who think that if they have given 5,000 rupees per month fees for the child, as if it is a business, it is a kind of, you have paid 5,000, you must get 50,000 back. It's not like that. It's a matter of trust, where you have handed over your child to a particular management, a particular principal or a school, having full trust that my son is or my daughter is going to be there for long 12, 13, 14 years, and there is the place where the future of my child or what is going to be. It's a matter of utmost trust. That trust we have found less in those marginal parents, which is a big challenge for the promoters and the founders of the schools. Getting NOC from the state, most of the founders must have found a lot of difficulties in getting NOCs from the state government and CBSC affiliates, etc. Now, I know I run a school in the university, and I primarily focus on education. And this is my mission and vision. I will like to run it in a business model, but not to take money. This is the time when we have to pump in one-way traffic, because we have real estate business, we have some other business, we make money there, we put our money here, loan is repaid from those incomes. So this is not the time that I could have taken the money, but we never intend to do that. We run it in a mission, in a vision, with the objective of imparting quality education, making it a center of excellence. However, running of a school, promoter has a 24 hours apprehension of any kind of security lapses. The security in the present situation, present scenario, is of varied nature. It is among student to student, student to teachers, teacher to teacher, sexual harassment cases. These are, internal forces. There are external issues, the swimming pool, the buses traveling around the city, the hostel issues, the number of suicide cases are increasing. So this security issue has become most permanent. And the promoter of the school spent sleepless nights. They always think what happens if something goes wrong. As much as, of course, the principal of the school and the vice chancellor of the university or the principal of the colleges as well. But when we talk about the founders, it is never a bed of roses for them. It is always the bed of thorns. Co-promoters. I had experienced myself in one of my first venture. Many of the schools in the country has come up as co-promoters. 2-3 friends just think that okay, chaliye hum log school kholte hain. They have come up, they have joined hands, goody, they started the school, but eventually the differences arise. Here, I would like to tell that when the people are such who are joined hands, that they in fact are complementary to each other. One is good at maybe he's a highly educated man, but he may not have money. The other has got money. I would say in whatever form they are complementary to each other, that kind of co-ownership may survive. But in most of the cases, because once the school is set up, the issue of reputation and somebody is asking Mr. X not to Mr. Y, these kind of friction starts. So these are also issues which are related to the challenges of founders of the school. Brand building is another big issue. There are some big brands in our country which have got chain of schools and they take advantage. They deserve to get the advantage of their branding and any new school to establish the brand, because we know that this is the era of brand. For a simple watch, you pay 20 lakhs for the brand which was there for 200 years, 300 years. Similarly, there are good brand school name and the parents choose them as their first priority for new schools. Now, I started my own brand, Royal. I know how much difficult it is to establish a brand and how much money you have to spend on publicity and so many things, as ma'am was talking about, calling various dignitaries in the school to interact with students. I tell you, over the last 12 years in my university and in my schools, in the last 9 years, people of the caliber of even Abdul Kalam ji came to my campus, including Chetan Bhagat and Shiv Khera, and a lot of the people in different fields who, even Kapil Dev, they came to interact with the students, to motivate the students, but at the same time, you want to establish the brand of the school that huge money to spend. So branding is another. For I'm coming to Dr. B. Singh's issue of Guwahati. He says, surprisingly, how can Guwahati somebody set up such kind of schools and all that? Partly true as well, but now of course in anywhere change, the time is good. But we have our own challenges in the northeast region. The biggest challenge being the exodus of students. There is a huge exodus of the students from our region to the other parts, other states in the country. And this is a big challenge for us because there is a trend for long 20, 30, 40 years that the student will go to a school which is there in Delhi, Bangalore, Pune, etc. Now, for a new school, to make a part seizure to this kind of trend is a big challenge. And Dr. Arun Prakash was talking, and he is very keen and very, particular about this issue, which now I agree. Maybe at that time or sometime I was not agreeing to him, that there is really a very thin line which is to be decided as to where is that line where one can say that the promoter of so-and-so school does not interfere. Because there is always a talk about the management interferes or the management does not interfere. What is called interference and what is called assistance is a great issue and a very thin line. So once the principal and the managers can well decide as to what are your areas, what is my area, I think the school is going to be great. We do not interfere into our day-to-day affairs of the school. We make policies, we provide logistics, we create infrastructure, we purchase land. But how the school will run, it is the art of the principal of the school, or for that matter, I have my principal Anubha Goyal in Royal Global School, a wonderful lady who ran earlier, who was with Birla Group. And then she came to me, and she's running my school for the last 6 years. One of the finest principal in the city. So I mean to say, I was talking about the thin line and the proper demarcation about the management's role and the principal role. Well, of course, one point which I missed, while we discussed about the principal, quality principal, there are very many quality people who are really great academics and who could be great principal with less administrative quality. For that, I have something to tell about. In such scenario, a school can select that kind of principal who is really, really great academician, with who may not be good in working like a bursar kind of thing as to what is happening about the campus, cleaning, buses and all that. There we need a bursar, administrator type. Another challenge by the private school, as you know that when we set up a school, we need to take help support from many bureaucrats, governments, various agencies. While they do that, when their turn comes, they recommend you for some job as a teacher, as staff, they recommend you for admission. Here again, the issue of balancing as to what to do. In most of the cases, what happens? We please 5, but we displease 50. It is not that somebody gave me a permission for construction of a building and he recommends a child of 50% and I take his admission. So for the promoters, it's a big challenge as to where he draws a line that below this we cannot go. And I mean to say, come what may, I will not compromise. I will not keep such kind of teachers who must have been recommended by even the chief minister of the state. But I will not keep a man who will not be a teacher as such. Maybe you somehow give a job of some kind of administrative post or something like that. So for the promoters, it's not a very easy game to, always accept to their request or accede to their request of admissions or job. I feel that it's a day-to-day affairs for me to face these kind of issues, which somehow we try to manage in the best possible manner, in the best possible interest, in the best interest of the school. English language is again the problem, the principal, but ultimately it is the principle of the problem, the founders as well. Unfortunately, in our country, a school is graded or considered good, very good, the best, where the culture is English. I've seen Sara, such a beautiful school, so much of so much of virtues, our culture, Indian ethos, and all that. But somehow, the English speaking, the English style, the English way of life has been accepted and adopted by our society, and which unfortunately, even if the principal does not like, even if the promoters does not like, uh, is always liked by most of the parents. On common platform, they may criticize, but when it comes to the individual, they like a school where the English culture is better and more. Digital updating, technology friendly, upgrading and updating is very, very big challenge. There are schools which are run for many years with very less surplus, borderline cases. They cannot spend much on digital and technology. They cannot compete with the new schools, with the schools which have got surpluses and who can develop, modernize, and make school technology friendly is a big, big problem for those old aged schools. Now, let me discuss something and then I'll conclude about the most of the states, starting with the fees regulation laws and committees, where they will decide as to what could be your fees. I tell you, there will be a lot of issues as to what they are going to consider when they decide as to this is your expenditure, so total divided by number of students, this could be your fees. But let us raise voice on the issues that, you know, we need to have surplus for many things which we must have promised to our parents. Maybe I have promised my parents that next year, I'm not talking about my school, I have big, big auditoriums and seminar hall, playgrounds. Might be some ex school might have promised that next year I'm going to purchase some 20 acres of land for a football uh, playground, or I'm going to build a big auditorium. So where from will he do this? Only from the surpluses of the fees. The fees cannot be that you have 1,000 students, this much is fees, this much is expenditure, that's fine. Take 5,000 per month or 2,000 per month. No. You need to have surplus for those promises which you have made and for which you need surplus which you will be using in the next 3, 4, 5 years. This is going to be a very, very important issue. And then by no means we can allow them to fix the fees for a new school, for existing school at an entry level, because my opening fees in say lower KG is 12,000 per month. Those who can afford, let them come, welcome. You can't you go to X school, Y school, Z school, good according to your affordability. The only restriction is that once you are into my clutch in my school, next year I increase by leaps and bounds, that cannot happen. There, the regulatory body can play their role. So we have to come in a big way. Otherwise, I tell you, the future of private school is in very, very bad shape. So, my dear friends, I think I have spoken enough the time given to me. The issue is such where we can discuss for hours together. There are many issues which are, of course, the old-time challenges, and some of the challenges are pretty much new, and we need to address them one by one. And we have to come to such platforms together, discuss these issues, and then make representation to the government because they cannot just ruin the education system. It is the private schools which have great role, and you just imagine these children of all the bureaucrats, the children of all the politicians, the children of all the industrialists and middle class and high middle class are studying in the private school, and they are trying to, ruin the very fabrics of the schools. So, my dear friends, with these few words, I wish that the time is of COVID. We must be maintaining the various safety measures, and I wish you all have a safe and healthy life. And Diwali is ensuing. I wish you all a very happy Diwali. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It was a real. I think I'm audible now.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry because this is technology. What happened? I consider myself a good technology savvy person, but sometimes we become helpless and because of many technology things. And I welcome Professor S.P. Singh, sir, to be here with us, sir. We have heard a lot from Mr. Pansari and the things. And one thing I wanted to tell you, sir, was talking about the uh, synergy between the partners who come together, and there cannot be any ideal relationship what Mr. Modi and Mr. Pansari is having. Mr. Modi is a balanced person. He's someone who is very stable. Once he was telling that he decided in the home, today I'll be angry on this person. So he plans to become angry on some person. That much balanced life he has. And Mr. Pansari is the go-getter. He is the front person who takes the challenges, take care. So that is the synergy. That's what required. And Dr. Singh, Mrs. Goel, and all the synergy that you have created is exemplary. And that's why we wanted you to address the people. Sir, the challenges that you have discussed is really felt by each and every school owner. Unfortunately, there is no bias. This is the time of lobbying. Whichever lobby is strong is able to influence everywhere. Unfortunately, school owners are not coming in front because somehow a phobia, what we say, it's involved with the school. School owners, it means minting money. School owners mean creating problem. School owners, something doing ethically wrong. They don't understand the blood that school owners pump into the school. The we remember that when we were making DPS Guwahati, time was something we never knew what is the time, what time we are returning back from office, up to what time. I remember when examinations question paper were to be made, me and my wife up to 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock night, we are making the question paper. The building whole night we have been there in school, especially you, the building part, you all are with your team was taking care. So that no one counts. They only see that person was X, now Y, now Z. Journey, the differences, the problem they don't see. And another thing they don't say that whatever money and toil has been invested in school, person who could have invested in some other field, perhaps would have minted 20 times more money.
Sure.
That no one talks about, not no one takes things that. And that jealousy, I'll say more about that. Purposely I use the word jealousy, the jealousy which is there because the school gives power along with. Because even minister's son, I remember when I was in Bhubaneswar, one day a minister came. I will not name. He was the central minister. He came and was sitting outside because I was meeting with some person. It was his greatness. He did not even send message to me that he is waiting outside. And I, because this is the respect. Because respect at the same time, this if someone goes head, it become power. So that much respect and power person gets, this is also a jealousy. Money comes, so many things are there involved. So what I request, sir, you and all the people who are present here, and all those who will be listening in Config, we need a forum of school founders where real issues can be taken to the highest possible level, and that's only possible when people join hands together. It will not be possible doing bits and pieces or alone. So thank you very much, sir, for being with us, giving your time. It was real great to listen to you. The challenges that you have pointed out, you have enumerated, it has been really great. And Sachin sir is here with us. Sikha and Ankur, both of them are here. Both were my students, although we have very limited time to teach them. But we were interacting when they were small children, and we have been interacting and seeing them. Aditya ma'am, you have spoken very, very nicely, so beautifully. Jua sir, you are listening as so attentively, and we are afraid. In fact, when I was speaking, I was little afraid of speaking first time, perhaps, that we have Dr. B. Singh sir, we have Mr. Pansari, and they have seen me very minutely. So if I'll say something, if something is wrong, perhaps there's someone to check me. No, it was not like this, that. But whatever relationship we have developed, whatever trust we have developed with the people with whom you work, because it's the love of children that binds us together, love of education that binds us together. Money perhaps can be arranged in some other ways also. And money, for most of the promoters, most of the founders, money is secondary because they know the money they invest, from that much money, more money can be generated from outside. So people should understand the real problems, they should appreciate, and that's only possible when we come forward, we make our forum, we make our people together, we our come forward. And Mr. Pansari is heading a newspaper group also. Lot I did not get, in fact, technology did not permit me to, but tell more about him. But nothing to tell him about his work and his quality and things are spreading all around. So I'll request Dr. B. Singh sir to take it further and sum it up the session and activities that we have been doing. Sir.
I think for that we can request Sachin Vatsli to give concluding remarks. We have got a very comprehensive checklist from Dr. Pansari to work upon further, and he has covered almost all aspects of school very beautifully. Sir, Sachin Vatsli.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. And although my apologies, I joined a little late because of my prior commitment, but yes, it was a delight to hear Dr. Divya Singh and Dr. Ashok Kumar Pansari ji. And of course, it was such a candid and heartfelt address. He said that I have not prepared any notes, but I think experience was speaking everything. And everybody who was listening was nodding. And you know, yes, Dr. Arun Prakash summarized it very well that all of us need to understand that we are on the same boat. The good work which we all are doing needs to be taken further as a consortium, as a collaborative effort. And I think this particular forum can help us in connecting further. And why don't we ask Dr. Ashok Kumar Pansari sir to lead us and ensure that whatever support we can extend from different parts of the country. I'm sure government will understand because the last statement which you spoke, every government officer, every politician, they have their children coming to the private schools. So if that is the case, then how can they ignore that sector, which, as per the Center Square Foundation report, caters to almost 50% of the school-going kids in this country? And so I'm sure that, there are a lot of takeaways which the virtual audience have taken today. Thank you so very much for your kind words, and it was such a delight to hear your views. And of course, Dr. Divya Singh, when we hear about your simplicity, about the way आपने हिंदी और इंग्लिश में दिल को छुआ, or very beautifully you could say, I realized that you have connections with Ghaziabad, which happens in my hometown. And yes, the beautiful modernity with tradition which you have in your campus resonates with what we do at Gurukul as well. So wonderful compliments to you for doing this work, and I'm excited and delighted to hear that you are going to host us when we come to Varanasi. So हम जरूर आएंगे आपके पास.
You're welcome, all of you, Sachin ji, and each one of you, please come over. And whenever you come, We would be so happy to host you.
Thank you so very much.
So it is almost going to 7. I think we can conclude. Dua साहब कुछ और last comment?
Sir, most of the rules, it's been, very illuminating listening to everybody. But over my last 20 years, I have always felt, आज मैं school क्यों नहीं गया? Never been a day where I felt कि मेरे को school नहीं जाना था. Never have been a day where I felt कि parents are in hassle. Never has been a day where I felt children are not a joy. School is such a place. You have to. मैं भी चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट हूं सर. बैलेंस शीट में पैसा लूज करिए और हैप्पीनेस से बैलेंस करिए. I mean, you can become आप लखपति बना सकते हैं अपने आप को. आप पहले करोड़पति थे तो तैयार हो जाइए लखपति बनने के लिए. But in return, what you get, your energy, your joy is unlimited.
Day by day, you become younger.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And B Singh, sir, is a specific example. जितनी एनर्जी इनके पास है, अब कहेंगे रात को 9 से 10 बजे के लिए क्वेश्चन के लिए आ जाइए. So that's quite not possible for us also. So all that energy he gets from school, I believe, and children.
सर 9-10 बजे नहीं सर, हम लोग रात को 12-1 बजे 2 बजे तक काम करते हैं और सुबह फिर सर तैयार हो जाते हैं. एंड दैट्स व्हाट इन फैक्ट आई एम गेटिंग एनर्जी फ्रॉम बी सिंह सर एंड एवरीवन. एंड since invitations are going on, I'll extend invitation to Allahabad, and the Bagh Mela which is happening every year is very close to our place. We are almost in the bank of river Yamuna and Ganga. So whenever you all plan to Allahabad, be there. In fact, not only us. In fact, this is what culture we should develop. That whenever we go, I remember I was in Bhubaneswar. One day I got a card. Dr. Ashok Tangri, he is one of the most celebrated principal in the world, principal of our own Indian school, Dubai, who same year we got national award. So he just sent his card. He was not knowing that I am principal. He sent card. So I just almost rushed to meet him because he was such a celebrated person. He said that wherever I go, I just visit schools. So he, without many things, simply he came, visited us. So we will request all of us to open our door to all the people. Another thing, exchange should start within school so much. That's what is required. So as much we can be together, collaborate together, and that's why yesterday Mr. Aruna was saying that collaboration is a new normal. So we heard Mr. Dua, Mrs. Dua, Arunab ji, and Sachin ji yesterday. Today we heard Divya, and then together with the blessings of Mr. Pansari and the vision of Dr. Singh, we can take this movement further. And Mr. Pansari, I second what Mr. Sachin was saying, that let us take a lead with your support and with your leadership. Let us take a lead. Let us join hand together. Let us join like-minded people, not just a big group, but like-minded people who was really committed to school and worried about the future of schools to run it properly, not anything else. Because whatever problems you are raising, not because just creating your business model problem, is creating it's really hampering the growth of a school that you have envisioned. And whatever hurdles are coming, let us fight together, let us come forward together and solve it together. So we need your help and we need your blessings.
Yes,
and
sir.
sir and all of us. So
दुआ
those
साहब
are
कुछ और ऐड करना चाहते हैं?
सर हम लोग एक्सचेंज प्रोग्राम की बात करते हैं
सर
तो जवाहर नवोदय का हर स्टेट के साथ बच्चों का एक्सचेंज
सर,
प्रोग्राम होता है.
सर
तो
सर
हम लोग अपने ही स्कूलों में अपने ही स्टेट्स में एक्सचेंज प्रोग्राम के लिए क्यों नहीं ये प्लेटफॉर्म आपका यूज करें. मेरे
सर।
बच्चे गुवाहाटी चले जाएं, वह एसमी सीखें, उनके बच्चे मेरे पास आ जाएं, हिंदी सीखें. नॉट ओनली विल इट प्रमोट हार्मनी, it will develop your brain neurons also. Like, they're amazing, Rani. Why do we have to look for USA or
Yes.
I mean, it's an amazing thing. If anybody can go to Finland or USA or UK, amazing. But if somebody cannot afford, why not have an inter-exchange between the states? And why not we should have your expertise and your platform to facilitate that?
Sir, so we will, this is, sir, I remember that was in 1999 from DPS core, DPS Bogaigaon, I sent children to DPS Korba. But unfortunately, from other places, we could not receive because I was in Assam. We could practice a lot in Bhubaneswar. So we started doing exchange with around 30, 40 children from countries also and students also. But yes, sir, I take your hint. Let's take this forum to reach to the people, bring the schools together and bring schools, because once we are involved, perhaps other people also will get some trust that they are the genuine people, and with their guarantee, our children will be safe, because safety and trust is more important. So let's work together, and simply whatever groundwork is required, whatever need is required in our level, will do. We need your vision, we need your support, we need your help, and all the people who are joining in this cause at this moment, let us be the founder member of this movement and let's take it further. So with this, I thank all of you, especially Dr. B.C. Singh sir, that chairman of the whole course, and all the people who has helped us this program. So thank you very much for joining. It's our pleasure to be together.
One reminder,
Sir,
kindly let us know more like-minded friends. Give us their details, and I'll be sending reminders to everyone for all such programs, exchange programs, and other things. And then every fortnight, we give platform to one of the school. So I'll send that proposal also, and let us continue this relationship.
and
So thank you so much. We'll meet
sir,
9 o'clock today. We'll talk on NEP from owner's point of view. What is new in NEP? How we must perceive NEP. So kindly join us 9 o'clock also. Thank you so much.
Sir, and one more information, sir. We have created a Google Classroom where we can communicate and we can discuss things much easier, faster at one place. So that also links will be sent to you. And please join and let us take this movement further. Thank you very much. Thank you, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All the best.